People, deluded. I'm back again. I'm about to go on a Zoom call. Don't have time to put together the camera and everything, but I've got a 5 minutes or so to spare. So I thought I'd make a vid. Now, the inspiration behind this vid is actually nothing to do with the players per se, in Angel Gomez and obviously Balogun of Arsenal, respectively. They're both two young players, what ironically, both 18, 19, trying to make it as a professional footballer. Well, make the next steps to be, playing in the men's game, for want of better words, getting their senior career rolling. And as you know, both of the teams they play for, like many Premier League teams, I do think teams can do more, my team included. But for a variety of factors, the path to the first team isn't there. At base level, football is a game of opinions. Some youngsters make it and don't make it purely because a manager likes and don't like them. That's how fickle football is. It's a game of opinions, people. Obviously, sometimes the academy is just not being used. Obviously, the players might want to move because there's a pathway. There's a variety of reasons. Sometimes there's external factors. There's things going on at home. There's things to do in relation to coaching staff, away from coaches. There's contractual matters as to why both the club and players' hands can be tied at times. There's many reasons as to why players leave teams. But what I would say is football fans, they need to understand that, and especially Premier League top six teams in particular, or any Premier League team, is, for me, with these young players, it's about not losing the battle. You will lose battles, and I'll explain what I mean. But it's about winning the war. Look at Arsenal. Now, I'm sure I of all people, could sit here and talk about the players that were, scouts brought from all different nations and brought here, and we never got to really see any of their potential. Jeffrey Adley is making decent progress at Lyon. Benatia, probably the best case study, went on and really doing things at AC Milan, being linked with City and PSG. You've got Daniel Marlin, you've got Josh De Silva over there at Brentford. You had Dragomir a few years ago. For Balogun's up there, we lost Okaflex to Celtic, we lost Musa to obviously Valencia. That one hurts me the most. And I can't even blame, he's the best example. There's probably a better pathway for him at Valencia in terms of midfielders and things. And you can see he's training with the first team of Valencia on a regular basis. So there's been many players that have left people. You will lose the war. Arsenal, obviously, if we had our way, maybe these youngsters wouldn't all be playing because, our squad wouldn't be as below par as it's been. But Saka's the best example. For every Saka, we're going to lose out on players like Balogun. Our hands are tied. I have no doubt in my mind Balogun's going to go and develop and become a 20 million plus player in the near to distant future. But clearly the club and him have come to a disagreement for whatever reason, and it's not going to work out. Now, I'm not saying you can't be frustrated, but it's almost like people act like the world's going to end, myself included. You have to understand players are going to leave. Your team is going to lose the battle. Look at Paul Pogba. Pogba might have signed a new deal at United and it worked out, or they might have signed a new deal for him. He might have gone out on loan. He might never have got his chance at Man United in the first team. He left, and now he's come back, but he left and did what he needed to do. This is the case several times, people, because the club is going against an impossible dynamic, and so are the players. The players are struggling to get opportunities because of immediate targets teams need to hit. And obviously, you put a young player in. I always say they need about 10 games, to get a feel for it. That can be the difference between a manager losing or keeping their job. Do you get it, people? Some players develop at different rates. Balogun might be ready in 2 years. He might have not been ready now. Do you get it? There might be a player at Arsenal that isn't ready now that's going to be ready in 2 years or 3 years, and we're going to look at them like, what's going on? As long as the club get maximum dollar, if we can get a couple £1 million, a hefty resale value and performance-related resale values, it keeps ticking. I'm not saying it's not going to be frustrating, but clubs, especially those that play in the Premier League at all levels, you have to adjust to this. Now, we've got Saka, a 17-year-old playing first team. When is that? Where else is that happening? And on top of that, how many, it's just one really at Arsenal. Yeah, we've got a couple on the cusp of the first team. Where are they? Chelsea's bringing through a couple, but Chelsea are winning the war. They've been losing the battle for time. Chelsea have lost the players that were bought with potential, the Kevins, all of these players. They've got the homegrown players, and they're now winning the war because you've got Reece James, you've got Tammy over there, you've got Mason Mount, you've got Billy Gilmore from Rangers coming in. The pathway's there. Adjerin signed a new deal. But there are going to be players they left, for whatever reason. Bogo was sold. Now they've got a resale value and stuff like that. But you now look at him. They lost Lamperty wanted to leave because of the pathway. Obviously, he sees Reece James and people ahead of him. Aspilicueta might not have too many years left in him, and there could be a pathway, but they've got to do it. I can never say his last name right, but Jamal Muslera and that centre half, in fact, they both went to Bayern Munich. Everybody loses players. Arsenal lost Ovi, that guy that went to Liverpool. You know, he elected to turf us and not sign a scholar. Now, he hasn't become a household name at Liverpool, but I'm pretty sure they sold him to Reading or whatever. And if they did, they made a couple million. Club fans need to be prepared to accept losses. Like me, I'm annoyed when I see someone like Amici leave. And obviously, it doesn't look like that much of an L because he's not having the greatest of times. Let's cut the crap at Hamburg. But the club got resale value. It keeps it moving, people. Do you get it? Like, I do feel some fans that, of all young players, that it does feel like fans are upset half the time for no reason. I'm not saying you can't be legitimately concerned. I'm just saying generally every player, every fan makes up all the noise about these young players, and when they leave, it's all rah rah rah, and then what? And then what? It doesn't make sense. These people that moan the most hardly watch these players to know about their level and things like that. Like Balogun, I think Balogun's going to be a top player without any doubt of my imagination. I even think in the future he might even be able to be a winger on top of a striker. But people are moving mad saying he's this, he's that, just hella hot takes. And I know they're chatting shit, pardon my language, because they're not watching him week in, week out like I was doing for the 23s. And they're putting him on a pedestal that he's not. I'm not saying he's not a great young player. I'm not saying he doesn't have a future. I'm not saying it's not that deep that he's left Arsenal. I'm not saying that I wanted him to leave Arsenal. Lord knows I'd have loved for him to sign a new deal. But how can I be angry? How can I be angry? Because if he looks at the pathway, what opportunities has he really been given? The pathway's got a bag of strikers on top of Eddie, him, and Tyrese John Jules, all sort of melting pot. You know, he signed the deal, last year, his pro deal when he was 18. Really, the club should have looked to have got a 3-year deal. And I don't know, you know, he signed it when he was 18. I don't know if it was agreed when he was 17 or wait to then. But for me, I get the impression that Arsenal don't necessarily rate Balogun to the level that some fans that take it over the top of me, like myself, as well, people. I think the club is seeing it as, you know, we've got Eddie, we've got Tyrese, you know, one of them might make it, one might not be sold. If we can get a resale value and whatnot on Balogun, then so be it. And United, there's been many cases. Arsenal, there's been many cases. City, I'm not saying don't be frustrated when you have a talent like Jadon Sancho literally on your doorstep and you're doing other things and he's not playing. City got examples. Chelsea, Liverpool might have a couple in a few years. To get it, people, you know, depending on what happens with Curtis Jones and these players. But that's the norm. In the same way free transfers are not getting resale value is going to become the norm. More players, young players especially, are going to leave. Just because they leave doesn't mean they're going to go off and be a wonder star. Equally, you shouldn't say the praise a club if they, you know, let them sold and it didn't work out. One thing that you've got to do is seize the future, seize your future. And that's what I like about these young players. If it doesn't work out, listen, just because you move to Germany or move anywhere doesn't mean it's going to bang. But what I like is that they're seizing their futures. If they're going to sign a 4 or 5 year deal, they want to see a pathway. And what I like about them, away from the words, they want to see the actions match up the words. Because you've seen it, people. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Gribben of United, it's not the best of examples. He's had the injuries, but he was seen as a wonder kid. Every minute, allegedly acting up. Liverpool wanting this team, wanting that team. Signed a new deal at United. And injuries have been a big part. And now look where he is. Kyle Scott, you know, when Chelsea were, and they still are bullying it at youth level, bullying players, you know, he was one of the guys. They wanted him to sign a new deal. I think he signed a new deal one day. Eventually, it come to the end of his latest deal. They said, keep it moving, you know. People are saying up in arms about it. Now, look, what is he doing? No disrespect to him, but it just seems that things are not that deep. Unless it's Kylian Mbappe or Lionel Messi, it's not that deep. I'm not saying don't be frustrated. I'm not saying be bewildered. I'm not saying don't question the club. I'm just saying don't act like it's the end of your world because the club is going to keep spinning, people. The club is going to keep spinning. All clubs are going to lose players and continuously lose players because these players are hungry for their pathways. They're not down to be these young players where they sign a 5-year deal, they come back for every pre-season and they've not done anything. They want to be legitimately cared for. And I think that's great because clubs now, you know, they will still stockpile. Every club has a bag of talents that probably are not going to make it. But now clubs are going to have to be prepared to win battles and lose wars that bit more. You know, they might say, you know what, we've got Joe Blogs, we've got this guy, we've got 4 quality players. The pathway to the first team because of current objectives, we might lose 1 or 2 of them, but we might get this one. The ones we're going to lose, resale value, all of these things. And football's a funny old game of opinions. It is. Andy Cole didn't make it at Arsenal. He's a United legend. Do you get it, people? There's many examples. I'm not trying to bash Arsenal. I'm just saying there's many examples of what's showing you football is a funny old game. Look at Mo Salah. Everybody can say he's the best in the Prem, arguably, and all these things. Now, once upon a time, there were skeptics. Do you get it? But football at base level is a funny old game of opinions. And if I'm a young player, honestly, you know, once after you've played 18 months or so at 23's level, you don't want to be there. So I can't be vexed. You know, maybe if Gomez was given opportunities at United significantly this season, you know, he probably would have signed it. Balogun, he probably would have signed the deal if, you know, he was given opportunities. You hear the bulk of reason for them, you know, not coming to an agreement allegedly is over performance-related contracts, which I actually don't have a problem with Arsenal, you know. I want to keep Balogun, but if the club want to structure his deal a certain way, that's how they want to run things. But at the same time, if the agent thinks something's not up, and on top of there not being a part, they keep it moving. This is how it is. Clubs will keep losing the battles. For every Bukayo Saka, you know, Bukayo Saka is there now. How many has Arsenal lost? No, Arsenal shouldn't lose that many. We should have Bukayo Saka, Gnabry, and if we're not going to get these players, you know, Gnabry, Benassia, Jeff Rene Adelaide, you know, all of these players that I've kind of listed throughout this video, collectively, the income Arsenal should have been able to bring in is a madness. Now, for me, Balogun in the next couple of years might very well make a 5 million look stupid, but considering Brentford had a bid of 5 million rejected, it makes you wonder, you know, 1 year left on his deal, highly sought after by many German clubs and Premier League teams, you know, can we get a 5 million and a sell-on clause for a player that hasn't made his first team appearance, for a player that, you know, you've got Eddie and other people around him and has got a year left on his deal? Cool, they might take that 5 million. That 5 million might look stupid in a couple of years, like it did look like when we sold Benassia for pennies to Empoli. But you get it, people, that's probably what they're going to do. And we will keep losing. I think fans need to stop getting frustrated over this. Obviously, it frustrates me, but I'm not behaving like it's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Like, I want Balogun to stay. I want him to sign a new deal. Equally, the God's honest truth, people, and Gomez as well. But I've been focusing more on the club I support, Arsenal. Honest to God, people, if I was Balogun's agent and stuff, I've been making videos. I said I would have kept it moving time ago. You know, he might have gone on loan in January, put himself in the shop window for us, and we're going. But if I was his agent for the next 6 months, you know, he's probably been fielding calls. Like, do you think it's so funny how, you know, fans don't ever concede this? Like, football is football. Do you not think there's scouts of all clubs? All clubs overseas are all at English games now, people. All at English games. Just like where they was with Amici for a year before he left. You don't think they knew about Balogun already? You don't think they don't know about Balogun already? You don't think there hasn't been inquiries that we don't know about? You don't think scouts have probably eyed him up? Because if I'm an Eredivisie club, if I'm a fairly, you know, mid-table to top-end sort of German club, even if I'm a championship club like Brentford or anyone that runs these sort of projects sort of things, Balogun's on your list. Balogun, or if he's not first target, he's there. So, you know, the feelers have probably been put out there by Balogun's representatives, or, you know, football. All it takes is Balogun to be playing at a game, his agent to be at the game, the scout to have done his research and know who exactly his agent is, stand next to him, and Lidko, because I've done it at grassroots level with a guy that I won't reveal the club he signed for, but he signed for a club. I told you, like, I got my first player scouted. All it is, oh, that player's a good player. Who's his agent? Conversations there. It's done like that. The seeds are planted. Football is not mad complicated, you know, really and truly. But fans need to be prepared to just take these L's. They're going to happen. They're going to keep happening, people. To Arsenal, to United, to Chelsea, to City, to Liverpool, to Brighton, whatever team you support, people. And I hope that I want clubs to look at their academies, because I don't think every academy footballer is good enough. But there are some holes that can be plugged. And if you can't, you have to ask why. Like my club, Arsenal. You know, since Tony Adams, why hasn't there been a suitable defender to come through? And the defenders that have kind of been suitable have been fullbacks. Why is there no centre half? Maybe it's because of the ethos around defending. Maybe it's just because of, you know, present day Arsenal, maybe not so much now, but we were going for the smaller technical, you know, there was almost a time you knew if you was a creative midfielder at Arsenal, or fans we knew, you're more likely to get opportunities. You might be able to get a little left back like Kieran Gibbs or something, but you're not really going to get it if you're not a centre half. It's like today's day and age, I'm keen to see how many centre halves slip through clubs next, because of the lack of, you know, being able to play out from the back and all of these things. Like Arsenal, like, where's our centre halves? You know, I have to ask myself that, but I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to keep it moving. It's always a pleasure. People, Deluded, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking.